In the annals of musical spectacle, few figures command attention quite like Kanye West. A self-proclaimed god of fashion and sound, his pronouncements often descend from the heavens, or at least, from a highly curated social media feed. This time, the sacred city of Istanbul was chosen as the unlikely altar. Not for a mere concert, mind you, but an experiential cultural convergence, a phrase only Kanye could coin with a straight face. The global congregation braced itself, knowing that whatever transpired, it would be anything but ordinary. It was a pilgrimage, not to Mecca, but to the improbable crossroads of East and West, all for the gospel according to Ye. Kanye West has always been an artist whose canvas extends far beyond the recording studio. His ambition often outstrips gravity itself, envisioning events not just as performances, but as seismic cultural shifts. For Istanbul, the whisper was of a new album, a spiritual opus that would fuse ancient Ottoman grandeur with hypermodern sonic landscapes. It was a vision audacious enough to be both captivating and deeply, terrifyingly impractical. The question wasn't if it would be grand, but if anyone, including Kanye himself, truly understood what grand meant in this context, or how to pull it off. Istanbul, a city steeped in millennia of empires, intrigue, and cultural crossroads, seemed a fittingly dramatic backdrop for Kanye's latest pronouncement. From the Byzantine walls to the Ottoman mosques, its very stones hum with history. But would it hum in harmony with a multi-million-dollar hip-hop spectacle? The city, accustomed to welcoming sultans and emperors, was now preparing for a different kind of monarch. The logistical labyrinth of hosting such an event in a metropolis that probably predates the concept of logistics by several centuries was a challenge few dared to contemplate. As with all things Kanye, official details were sparse, replaced by a torrent of internet whispers and highly speculative leaks. Social media became a frantic mosaic of fan theories, secret locations, surprise collaborations, even a rumored appearance by a resurrected Byzantine emperor. Local contractors, accustomed to building mundane office blocks, found themselves fielding bizarre requests for soundscapes of silence and stages that float on ancient ley lines. The project, still largely formless, began to take on the mythical quality of a modern-day Tower of Babel, all constructed on a foundation of pure conjecture. The practicalities of a Kanye West event are often a grand symphony of controlled chaos, punctuated by moments of pure, unadulterated panic. For Istanbul, the scale was unprecedented. Imagine attempting to transport bespoke sound systems, elaborate stage architecture, and a legion of demanding creative personnel through the ancient, narrow streets of a city designed for chariots, not 18-wheelers. The phrase culturally sensitive industrial-grade scaffolding likely entered the lexicon of several weary production managers that week, alongside a new appreciation for the simple elegance of a flat, easily accessible loading dock. After much secrecy, the venue was revealed, the sprawling, ancient hippodrome of Constantinople. A site once hosting chariot races and imperial spectacles, it was now to be consecrated by auto-tuned beats and avant-garde fashion. Its historical resonance was undeniable, but its suitability for a modern concert was questionable. Every sound engineer grappled with the acoustics of a space designed for horse hooves and distant cheers. Every lighting designer pondered how to illuminate grand Byzantine obelisks without accidentally triggering an archaeological incident. It was less a venue, more a historical challenge. Days bled into nights as hundreds of local and international crew members toiled under the watchful, often exasperated, eye of Kanye's creative directors. Demands for authentic Byzantine minimalism clashed with the need for structural integrity. Ancient cobblestones, protected for centuries, suddenly had to bear the weight of LED screens taller than an Ottoman minaret. The language barrier was an ongoing, often comical, subplot, with complex artistic directives morphing into bewildered shrugs and frantic reinterpretations. It was a testament to human resilience, or perhaps just to the sheer force of Kanye's will. From Tokyo to London, devotees poured into Istanbul, their wallets lighter but their spirits high. They came, not just for the music, but for the experience, for the proximity to the enigmatic figure who perpetually redefined the boundaries of art and audacity. Airfares soared, hotel prices quadrupled, and local taxi drivers, bless their opportunistic hearts, discovered a new premium rate for Kanye's Hippodrome Express. These weren't mere ticket holders, they were pilgrims on a quest for transcendence, or at least, a decent Instagram story. The economic impact on Istanbul was, ironically, quite substantial. As the appointed hour approached, a collective tremor of expectation rippled through the assembled masses. Then, as reliably as the sunrise, came the delay. A few hours, then several. The Hippodrome, which had witnessed gladiatorial battles and imperial processions, now hosted a different kind of endurance test: the wait for Kanye. Phones died, bladder capacities were tested, and the once buoyant excitement slowly began to curdle into a grim, resigned camaraderie. It was a familiar ritual for any veteran Kanye fan, a spiritual cleanse of impatience, preparing them for the profound experience, or profound disappointment, yet to come. Finally, hours past the advertised time, the gates creaked open. The crowd, a mix of relief and renewed adrenaline, surged forward, filtering into the dimly lit, smoke-filled expanse of the Hippodrome. Giant monolithic structures, vaguely reminiscent of ancient obelisks, pierced the artificial fog, their surfaces projecting abstract, swirling patterns. The air was thick with incense and anticipation, the faint scent of regret already mingling with the promise of something truly unique. It was a carefully crafted atmosphere, designed to disorient and prepare, much like entering a particularly exclusive, and slightly delayed, cult gathering. A low, resonant hum began to emanate from the speakers, slowly building to a crescendo of ambient drones. Then, silhouetted against a stark, single beam of light, there he was. Kanye West. Clad in an ensemble that was either avant-garde genius or an accidental homage to a medieval monk, he stood motionless for a full, agonizing minute. This wasn't a rock concert, it was performance art, an exercise in prolonged tension. The crowd held its breath, ready for revelation, or perhaps just a good, solid beat. The line between prophet and provocateur had never been thinner. What followed was not a traditional concert. It was a sonic ritual, a fragmented tapestry of new tracks interspersed with philosophical monologues delivered in a near whisper, then escalating to impassioned shouts. Giant projections of ancient Byzantine mosaics dissolved into stark, minimalist typography. Guest artists appeared and vanished like phantoms. The sound design was immaculate, yet the overall experience was intentionally disjointed, forcing the audience to grapple with meaning rather other than simply consume entertainment. It was a test of endurance, intellect, and perhaps, patience. The reactions were, predictably, as varied as the attendees themselves. Some stood in silent awe, convinced they were witnessing a paradigm shift in artistic expression. Others checked their watches, then their phones, wondering if this existential meditation counted as a concert for their ticket price. Social media quickly became a battleground: genius versus con artistry. One particularly bewildered tourist, who'd accidentally stumbled in looking for the Hagia Sophia, was overheard asking if this was some kind of very loud prayer service. As abruptly as it began, the event concluded, leaving a dazed crowd to navigate the ancient streets, debating what they had just experienced. Was it a groundbreaking artistic statement or an emperor's new clothes? The answer depended entirely on one's prior commitment to the cult of Yi. Piles of discarded water bottles and confused-looking security guards were the only tangible evidence of the spectacle that had briefly alighted upon Istanbul. The city, having witnessed the rise and fall of empires, simply absorbed this latest, peculiar happening into its vast, indifferent memory. The global press, never one to shy away from hyperbole when Kanye is involved, weighed in. Reviews ranged from reverent praise for his audacity to scathing indictments of his self-indulgence. Music critics wrestled with the definition of music itself, while cultural commentators debated the thin line between performance art and a very expensive tantrum. The consensus, if one could be found, was that it was quintessentially Kanye, a phrase that, by now, had lost all specific meaning, encompassing everything from genius to chaos. True to form, Kanye himself offered no immediate post-event analysis. A single, cryptic tweet, featuring a stylized image of a Byzantine cross merged with a modern circuit board, was all the explanation the world received. It was a statement designed to generate more questions than answers, cementing the event's place in the pantheon of his deliberately ambiguous public performances. The true meaning, one could surmise, was probably known only to Kanye, and perhaps to his personal archivist, who likely had a dedicated folder titled Istanbul, Unfathomable. Despite the mixed reception, the Istanbul event undeniably left its mark. It added another indelible chapter to the sprawling, often contradictory narrative of Kanye West. For some, it solidified his status as a boundary-pushing visionary; for others, it confirmed their suspicions of his escalating megalomania. But like a pebble dropped into the Bosphorus, the ripple spread, influencing conversations about art, celebrity, and the increasingly blurred lines between product launch and spiritual awakening. It was, at the very least, unforgettable. Beyond the philosophical musings, there was the undeniable financial aspect. Millions were invested, tickets sold, merchandise moved. The Istanbul event was not just an artistic statement but a colossal enterprise, demonstrating how modern spectacle operates at the intersection of cultural cachet and cold, hard cash. The line item for spontaneous architectural reinterpretation alone was rumored to be eye-watering. It proved that even when aiming for transcendence, the universe still demands payment in currency, not in abstract concepts. As quickly as the Istanbul spotlight faded, Kanye moved on, his gaze already fixed on the next horizon, the next grand declaration. The city, a silent witness to countless human dramas over millennia, returned to its rhythm, perhaps a little richer, certainly a little more bewildered. The cultural convergence may have been elusive, but the conversation it ignited continues. And for Kanye West, a man who thrives on attention, conversation, even bewildered conversation, is often the ultimate masterpiece. In the end, Kanye West's Istanbul event stands as a monument to the absurd, the ambitious, and the utterly human desire for significance. It's a modern myth, spun from ego, artistry, and an almost superhuman ability to command attention. Was it a triumph? A disaster? Perhaps it was both, simultaneously. In a world increasingly starved for genuine spectacle, Kanye reliably delivers, even if what he delivers is occasionally a 3-hour existential crisis punctuated by minimalist beats. And sometimes, that's precisely what we sign up for.